You and your fellow panelists just offered some great insight into achieving the GC position and being successful once you get there. As a newer general counsel, you've been in your position, I think you said, for 2.5 years. How do you feel like you demonstrate success regularly?
I think I demonstrate success in terms of the business by making sure that I understand the business and the business needs and the strategic path forward, and that I'm providing advice and value in terms of what we need to do to move forward and to obviously be profitable. I also think that I also model it in terms of my team, because I want my team to make sure that they're working very well with the business and that they're looking at what it means to be a successful in-house team from that type of value proposition. So I think those are just some of the ways that I look to model success.
Great. I remember in the panel you mentioned something about getting a transition coach, which you found to be really valuable. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What is a transition coach and how did he or she help you?
A transition coach really helped me by, helping me focus on what my 90-day plan was going to look like, and helping me scope that out, and helping me think through how I wanted to approach both the business, my team, in terms of executing on that plan. But I think the transition coach also helped me in terms of kind of recognizing some of my blind spots, because at the end of the day, the general counsel role was a new role for me. It wasn't something I'd done before. I had to kind of understand that I needed to give myself the grace to almost fail and to understand that it was a path. It was probably going to be something that would take me 2 years to develop into. And so being able to step back and work with someone to map out what I would be doing over the first 90 days, but then over that 2-year period, and recognizing it was a journey was very important. The transition coach also helped in terms of working with me in terms of doing a 360 review, because I was able to have that coach reach out to my peers in terms of what were their expectations of success in the role. And then we were able to incorporate that into the plan. So in some ways, I think there may be things that some people may have thought of on their own, but I found it helpful to have kind of a third party who was part of that process.
Absolutely, it makes a lot of sense. We've heard a lot in the event throughout about mentoring, and your panel talked about it as well. Can you talk a little bit about your approach to mentoring and whether you had mentors that helped you sort of succeed in your legal career?
Well, if I talk about my approach now, we don't have a formal mentoring program at my company, and what I try to do is really kind of seek out, diamonds in the rough. If I kind of look at myself and my background, there were people who looked at me, and I may not have been the most polished attorney. I may not have just stood there with complete executive presence, but there were people that saw something in me, and whether acting as a mentor or acting as a sponsor helped me along the path to becoming a GC. So what I try to do is seek out people on all different levels. I don't, they're not necessarily just people a level below me. For example, I just had something called a Tea with the GC last week, and there were people from all women from all different functions at that tea, women from the tax function and the business. There might have been senior women. There were some women that were working their way up the pipeline. And so what I try to do is really act as a role model to women, in different stages of career development, and try to help them understand what I may have done. And also, quite honestly, try to be kind of a safe sounding board for them in terms of changes they may need to make in their approach to be able to move to the next level, or how they may want to approach a discussion with their supervisor or otherwise to be able to advance at the company, or sometimes even have an honest conversation with them in terms of this may not be the company for you for what you want to do. And I've also encouraged people, whether at my company or at other companies, if I were in your shoes, given your circumstances or your boss or otherwise, I would probably leave. And typically it's been the right advice.
And events like these really help you understand how important that mentoring role is. So, the event overall, what are some of your biggest takeaways?
I'd say my biggest takeaway is that there are just globally amazing women doing amazing things, and really kind of not being held back by, some of the, we always talk about the glass ceiling. I'm not saying the glass ceiling isn't still there, but I think we're willing to help each other kind of understand how to navigate. And maybe you're not just trying to move straight up towards that glass ceiling. You might sometimes have to move sideways, as you heard some of us talk about, and move into a business role or take an overseas assignment, or an assignment that you can't naturally see fits with what you're doing. And so I'm hoping that what this conference can do is help women understand that there isn't just a straight path. You have to take risks, you have to take chances. Have a plan, and have a plan B in case that doesn't work out, but be willing to take chances. And I think if we look at how men in particular manage their careers, I think they're willing to do that. They're willing to take on different types of assignment rather than just on laser focusing on goals. I think the other thing that the conference does is, as we talk about mentoring and networking and sponsorship, is putting together a group of women that might not naturally find each other. I mean, you could obviously reach out through the DLA Piper LinkedIn blog or otherwise, but if you look around the room, there's a lot of networking going on, and so I think this is an opportunity to draw from that strength.
Again, that was Verona Dorch of Harsco Corporation. Verona, thank you.
Thank you.